It's not like you could miss it. It has to be the weirdest weapon in the animal world, a set of continuously extending and contracting blade-like mouth extensions that protrude from an otherwise normal shark-like face. But when you see the expression blade-like, you might think, okay, this must be some kind of fish with thin, flat teeth, or maybe elongated incisors. You're thinking the wrong way about sharp. The blades we're talking about here are more like those of a pair of scissors or an extremely rusty meat cleaver, and they're attached to a central pivot point, sort of like how a medieval drawbridge works. They also can't really fold up into each other. So instead, the whole thing retracts into a sheath under the Sawshark's lower lip. When it's time for battle, the blades unfold and extend out past the tip of the nose to form what looks like the toothy grin of some Lovecraftian monstrosity. We just hope that if we ever had to fight one of these things, the first hit would take its head clean off before it could open its mouth. But sawsharks aren't actually all that big. Most species only get around 20 inches long. So even though the rostrum extension is fairly robust, it doesn't weigh all that much. And that means that the shark can contract and extend it very quickly. This is the sawshark, a master of ambush armed with one of the most bizarre hunting tools in the animal kingdom, the legendary saw, small but deadly. Saw sharks belong to a group of cartilaginous fish called hexantiforms, which contain 6 different families and around 60 species. All of them are relatively small, mostly ranging between 20 and 30 inches, though there are a few exceptions. Take, for example, the little-known and rarely seen swell shark. As its name suggests, it has a tendency to swallow air, which allows it to inflate itself up to 3 times its normal size. The swell shark can do this by gulping air at the surface, although it's not entirely clear why. It may be used as a defense mechanism against predators, possibly making the prey think it's already eaten something poisonous. Maybe it makes the shark more buoyant, so it can conserve energy while floating close to the surface. Or perhaps it's just a weird side effect of the shark's unique feeding habits. Swell sharks tend to eat benthic prey, meaning they hunt on or near the seafloor. So they have to suck their food in after locating it, which can be difficult if your mouth is full of air. If you're having trouble picturing this, just imagine what happens when you try to use a straw with a mouthful of air. Now add teeth to that straw. That's what it's like being a swell shark. But getting back to the sawshark, because it's such a small fish, it needs to be quick and agile. In fact, researchers who observed saw sharks in aquariums noticed that they swam with an eel-like undulation, meaning they moved through the water without rotating their entire body. This was especially true for the sawshark's tail fin, which didn't contribute to locomotion at all. But since the sawshark is so fast, it can end up overshooting its target. You've seen those videos of house cats batting at laser pointers. Sometimes they hit the red dot, sometimes they don't. But whether they connect or not, they always land on their feet. And in the ocean, if you're a bird diving into the water for fish, you're going to experience a lot of drag. That's where the saw comes in. The serrated edges of the saw can slice through the water, reducing drag and helping the saw shark maneuver more effectively. Of course, when you use a weapon as large as the saw shark's rostrum, you need to keep it sharp. But unlike us fleshy meat sacks, saw sharks don't need to spend money on haircuts or shaving cream. Their blades are made of cartilage, so they never need to worry about getting a hangnail or razor burn. That's probably a relief, since they're not exactly known for their dexterity. Blades can be dangerous to their owners, too. Sharks with saw-like weapons have been recorded biting themselves while trying to use them. So the blades must be retractable. Otherwise, these guys would literally be sawing off their own limbs. Speaking of limbs, sometimes the saw can account for more than half of the shark's total length, which makes it harder to move around. In fact, many saw sharks have reduced pectoral fins to compensate for the added drag. And the rest of their body isn't exactly hydrodynamic. With a blunt head and a weirdly triangular torso, it's no wonder they prefer to be ambush predators. They wait until their prey gets close enough and then shoot out their saw like an oversized pair of scissors. The weapons work better when they're fully extended, so the sawshark will often kill its prey with a single swipe, severing the head or slicing the body in half. Sounds barbaric, but it's very effective. Now, sawsharks don't always go for the kill. Sometimes they simply wound their prey enough to stun it, making it easier to eat. They're also thought to use their rostrums for defense, although we've never seen another animal try to eat a sawshark. We doubt anyone's brave enough. So far, sawsharks have been found in various habitats throughout the world's oceans, typically in neritic and oceanic environments. You can find them anywhere from the surface down to around 400 meters deep. Since they're apex predators, they're at the top of their food chain, eating pretty much whatever they want. Smaller sawsharks generally prefer fish and crustaceans, while the larger ones aren't above eating squid and even other sharks. The biggest threat to sawsharks is humans, mainly because we love to fish them out of the ocean and eat them. In recent years, many species have been overfished and have seen their populations decline. Because of this, some sawsharks have started showing up on the menus of fancy restaurants. In some cultures, sawsharks are considered a delicacy, but given the way these creatures look, we don't know about you, but we're not sure we'd want to eat one. To some, they might look like a quirky monster straight out of the ocean depths, but others might see them as nothing more than a plate of shark fin soup waiting to happen. Given that every part of a sawshark's anatomy is either connected to its saw or used for catching prey, it's hard to imagine any other creature adopting such an unusual adaptation. Perhaps they evolved from a common ancestor that was much larger. For example, a recently discovered fossil of a related species named Credalamna appendiculata was estimated to be around 13 feet long, almost as big as a great white shark. But appendiculata went extinct 70 million years ago. So what happened to all the giant sawsharks? Scientists aren't sure, but they think competition with other predators, prey scarcity, and changes in the environment may have played a role. But hey, size doesn't always matter. Take the shrew, for example. Some people say it's the cutest mammal in the world, and we're inclined to agree. Watch this video to learn more about why the shrew is the cutest mammal in the world. Then watch this video.